I'ma soon forget. So far between the lines, I'ma write a new set, a new beginning. Reflecting on the times that were that hard. I've fallen down many times, but I got mad hard.
Yo, what's good, YouTube? We're back for another video of the Buick Regal build. 82 Buick Regal. Got the motor painted. Now we just got to go ahead and get the rocker arms and the push rods installed and adjusted, and then we can go ahead and start putting all the tins back on it. But all that stuff's got to get cleaned and painted. That's what we're currently working on. I'm also working on the transmission. My son got it all cleaned up, wire wheeled, took all the old paint off of it. So now we're going to go ahead and drop the pan and install a torque converter lockup switch. That way, with this car not having a computer in it, the torque converter can lock up as needed when it, while he's driving. I didn't do that before. I should have done that a long time ago. I didn't learn about that until just recently, so that's why I did that in the Monte Carlo SS. So now we're going to go ahead and get that installed, get this thing taped up, cleaned up, and painted tonight. That way by next couple days we can have this motor, transmission put back together and get it dropped in the car. So let me turn this camera around, show you what we got going on. 700 R4 trans, all cleaned up, ready to get this pan dropped. I have the filter and gasket kit for it. Part number FK-171. And then we also have the front seal and back seal for the transmission. Part number 4950. I believe that's the front seal that goes on the torque converter. And then this one is the tail shaft seal. So part number 9613S. Both precision seals. I guess they're pretty good. And this is the torque converter lockup switch that I'll be installing. That comes from CK Performance Products out in New York. So 700 R4 universal lockup kit. See what I paid for it with shipping. So that's what I got installed today. Once that's installed, we'll go ahead and paint it. I'll let it dry. Then we'll go ahead and drop the transmission and get it ready to install it back on the motor. But here goes the block. Nice little color we picked out. So the car is going to either be a blue color or a gray color. So we're not exactly sure on what we're going to go with the color combination on that car yet, but everything's going to match. It's going to look good, nice and clean. So she's all set to go. But like I said, we got to put power to the car, get in the trunk, and see what other parts we have in there, and get that stuff out so we can go ahead and get, if it needs to be painted, cleaned, whatever. But I already ordered some more parts. Those parts will be here tomorrow. But as far as the gaskets, we pretty much got all the gaskets for everything that's here. We just got to scuff a few things, paint them, sandblast a couple parts, paint those, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. So you guys stay tuned. All right, YouTube, we're back. Went ahead and flipped this thing around. We got the pan off. So now we're going to go ahead and turn it back around. I had to let it drain a little bit, get some of the fluid out of it. But let's go ahead and get this thing spun back around. See if I can do it one-handedly. I got to be careful not to let that torque converter come out. All right, there we go. Pretty hard doing it one-handed. I should have squirted some oil in this thing so it'll move a lot easier, but that's all right. Okay, so what we need to do is, I got the directions right here that show the original wiring harness and the different solenoids, pressure switch inside there. So this will help me figure out which one I need to change as far as the pressure switch, and what is it, the pressure switch I need to change, and then the solenoid, which there's only one solenoid in there, I believe, that has to get changed out. So that's this right here. That's the pressure switch, the little silver deal. That's the new plug, and then the wiring for it. So I believe it's self-grounding on the inside of the transmission. Then all I have to do is supply 12 volts on the outside of the transmission. That's how it was on my 200R4. So they give you specific directions on how to do it, exactly what to do. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing. I'm going to need both hands so I can figure out exactly which parts need to come out. I know the original harness will be coming out. That whole thing will come out. I won't need that. The plug, I won't need that. And then we'll get this pressure switch swapped out with the new one. And I believe it's this. I believe it's this one here on the top, but I'll let you know here in a little bit which pressure switch. I mean, solenoid. No, that is a pressure switch. That's the solenoid. That's the pressure switch. I'll let you know which one of these gets changed out. So let me go ahead and get that situated, and then we'll cut you back on here in a little bit. All right, YouTube, we're back. I had to put the phone down. I couldn't record while I was holding the directions in my hand. It was pretty much the same thing as my 200R4, but a little different, and I'll show you why. But I couldn't do both things at the same time. So I didn't take any footage of me actually changing the parts, but I'll explain to you what I did and the reason why I had to put the phone down. So this is what ended up happening on my 200R4. This right here is the 4th gear pressure switch. I couldn't get to it with a socket or a wrench or pliers. So what I ended up having to do was take this cover off right here. There's a spring underneath. It's got a gasket around it. I ended up taking these 3 bolts loose, lifted it up, moved it to the side, and I was able to get a 27mm socket in here to get that old pressure switch out. So you have to change that switch out, the number 4. This is the new solenoid that comes with the kit. You have to change that out with the new one. Take the old one out, the old wire harness, the old plug, and install this new solenoid with the wires. I ran them around this way. You hook up the black wire to the number 4 pressure switch, the new switch that's installed. I installed the new plug. It's only a 1-wire terminal, and the red wire goes to that terminal. So the only reason why you have the 1 wire is because that what I'll end up doing is from the brake switch in the car, that every time you push the brake, it lights up. It moves and turns on your brake lights. I'll turn around and tap into that 12-volt feed when it's activated from that switch, and run a wire down here to this switch here. And that's what's going to control your torque converter locking up when it needs to, when you slow down, when you get ready to take off. So your brake power, the 12 volts coming from your brake power, your brake switch, activates this wire right here. So now that that's installed, what I'm going to do is I kind of don't want to have to wait any more time. I want to get this done today. So I think I'm going to just go ahead and clean up the oil pan. These are all the old parts right here. This is the old switch, the old plug that goes on the transmission. That's the old pressure switch number 4. Then you got the old harness, and then the old solenoid. So all this is junk. I'll be throwing all this away. We're gonna clean up this gasket, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and just clean up the pan, put the brand new filter and gasket on it, torque it down, and then tape it off on the bottom. I'll just tape up the pan for now because it's black. It's been powder coated. It's got a few scratches on it, but it's not bad. Later on, I'll just touch it up. So I want to at least have this thing painted today. That way it can dry for a couple days and I can go ahead and get ready to marry it to the transmission. But, I mean, to the motor. But still, I'm going to have to end up changing this seal here on the tail shaft, and then the one underneath the torque converter that's inside there. So, well, there goes my air compressor. My son's outside sandblasting his pulleys, so I don't want to cut the air off. He's got to keep running. But that's the next task for the transmission. Then we'll go ahead and I'll go over it with the wire wheel and knock a few spots down, tape it up, and go ahead and paint it. So let me hurry up and get that done, and we'll cut you back on here shortly. All right, YouTube, we're back. Got the kit installed, got the pan and gasket installed with the new filter. Real quick, when you guys, if you any of y'all ever do your own filter and trans pan gasket, these new filters that they have, this is for the 700R4, and I remember the 200R4 as well. The old filter has this little rubber O-ring seal on it. Shoot, where's it at? Did I throw it in here? Maybe I didn't throw. Oh, okay, it's not in there. It's right here. The seal, the little rubber seal, I threw away. But right here, there's a little rubber O-ring that a lot of times gets stuck inside the transmission when you change these filters out. So for the guys that do these cars on jack stands or underneath the car, always look inside that hole where this goes to make sure you pull that O-ring out of there, because the new filter is going to come with that O-ring, and you don't want to jam that new one into the old one, because eventually that's going to end up popping off and coming down, falling into the pan. That O-ring, the new one won't seat correctly, so always double check that when you guys pull that filter out and change your filter. So now we're going to go ahead and move the engine, but the transmission is all wiped down with thinner. Everything's taped up. I went ahead and put the pan back on. I was going to paint it, but I ain't got time to wait for it to dry. So everything that I need taped up is taped up and ready to go. So this thing's ready to get painted. We're going to go ahead and move the engine out of the way because I don't want overspray getting on this thing and you know, messing up the job that we already did to it. So we'll move it over here to the other side of the shop. The car is not coming back in for a while, so at least till later on tonight. But at least for now, we can get the motor out of the way. That way it doesn't mess up the paint job we have on here. She can dry a little bit more. All the other parts, they're sandblasted and cleaned and ready to go. So once this thing is done and painted and starts drying, then I'll go ahead and start getting this stuff painted. I might actually have my son paint that stuff. That way he can learn how to paint and get things situated and ready to get put back together. Well, I think I got a little bit of transmission fluid right here I need to clean with some thinner, but that's fine. I already got a cup of thinner ready to go. I'm just ready to get this thing done. I need it done, painted, and drying. That way I can hurry up and get to my lawnmowers right quick. I got to get them things fixed because I need to cut my grass. I hate having to wait. I work all week, 6 days a week, and I hate for the one day off that I have during the week to come out here and cut my grass, because it takes me at least a good 2-3 hours to cut grass. And I got one of my riders. I have 3 of them total. They're all old and used, but they work. But that one is the only one that I have running right at this moment in cutting. So if something happens to that one, I'll be shit out of luck. So I can't wait. I need to hurry up and get these other two done. So one of them, I'll be rebuilding the deck, putting new spindles on it, new belt. And then the other one, I just need to put tires on it, back tires. The back tires don't hold air anymore. I used to just quick pump them up with air and get to cutting grass, but now one of the valve stems is so rotted, I need to change it. And then there's so many holes in them tires, it's not holding air enough for me to get to cutting grass. So let me hurry up and get this paint going. Do a can of blue, and then I need the engine primer. Should have one opened already. Yep. So let's get these shook up and get the painting. We'll cut you guys back on here in a little bit. Alright, YouTube, we're back. I had to run over, get something out the shed right quick. Yeah, man. Project Regal's coming back together. Gotta make a name for her. Gotta make a name for her. But transmission is done. Transmission pan is installed. Torque converter lockup kit's installed. New filters installed. The only thing I'll have yet to do on the tranny is this seal in the back and the one that's in front of the torque converter. But I'll do that when I get this and set it on my table. That's when I'll get to the point to where I'll go ahead and marry the transmission with the engine. So she's done. She's done and painted. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take a break, try to clean up a little bit, get these parts organized so we can go ahead and get these ready for paint. I would keep going and paint these even right now too. I got the time, but I gotta get one of my lawnmowers put together. Plus I gotta clean all this shit up. I don't like oil, and this is my paint area, but at the same time it's my car area, my mechanic area, so I gotta be real careful with oil, contaminants, getting messed around with my paint stuff. So once again, y'all, we've got some more work done, completed for the 82 Buick Regal build. So y'all stay tuned for the next video. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you.
It's time I picked up all the pieces. It's so frustrating. Let me out of this cage. I'm not listening no more. 'Cause you're the one that's wrong, and you're gonna regret this life. All your words I'ma soon forget. So far between the lines, I'ma write a new set, a new beginning. Reflecting on the times that were that hard. I've fallen down many times, but I got mad hard.